The reactions to last week's message were many and varied. The topic still remains: is marriage a scam? Just think about the meaning of the words in our wedding vows: for better or for worse, in plenty and in want, in joy and in sorrow, in sickness and in health, as long as we both shall live. Most people have goosebumps as they make that commitment that starts with God and these witnesses listening. Are these just empty words of tradition, or do they represent a genuine promise of commitment? The longevity and quality of our marriages depends upon it. The phrase can be traced back to the Book of Common Prayer, which was first published in 1549 and has been used by Anglican churches worldwide ever since. The prayer book includes a section on marriage that reads: to have and to hold from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer or poorer. But where did this idea come from? The answer lies in Paul's letter to the Ephesians, chapter 5, verses 22 to 33, where he writes about how husbands should love their wives as Christ loved the church. He emphasizes that marriage is a sacred union between two people who become one flesh. In verse 28 to 29 specifically, he says, so husbands ought also to love their own wives as their own bodies. He who loves his own wife loves himself. For no one ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it just as Christ does his church. This means that even when times get tough, financial struggles arise, or health problems occur, couples should remain committed to each other through thick and thin. By saying for better or worse, we acknowledge that life is full of ups and downs, good times and bad, but we choose our spouse above all else because they are worth fighting through anything together. Guess what? Worse or poorer is the biggest issue in marriages today. Finances are the singular biggest problem for most marriages, ranking above infidelity and other issues. As women have become more educated, they have become more financially independent, and there are many who feel the leverage men have long had over women has been provision. They believe that without provision, women will never tolerate most of the so-called rubbish they see in marriage. In times past, some women stayed on in marriages because they couldn't afford to take care of themselves and the kids if they left that marriage. But today, as the modern woman thrives in society, this is no longer a major consideration for them. A lot of women are contributing equally or more to the bills at home. They pay school fees when men come up short or don't even come up at all. They pay for the family vacations. They pay for rent or the mortgage. They pretty much do everything men used to do in the area of provision. So they cannot understand why any man will not give them the same respect and regard they give men when men do this. It appears that some Lilliputian men, in order to maintain that air of I am in charge, they just won't acknowledge the strides and efforts these women are making both at home and outside of the home. They want to be celebrated but won't celebrate these women. They want to be treated like kings because they pay bills but won't treat these women like queens when they do the same. So, women are reacting. The easiest way to get any man to find Jesus is to give his wife money and power. This is also the easiest way to know the true content of a woman's character. Give her money and power. Men are suffering. Men are really suffering. The tales of horror you hear from men these days about how their women treat them over the lack of money or when the women have more money. Women seem to have become emboldened to seek greener pastures as societal values diminish. King David's stellar resume was marred by the fact that he used his power as king to have his way with Uriah's wife. But in our world today, Uriah's wife will be the one to DM King David or pass on a message of her interest in him through any of her numerous friends. Wake up, guys. It's now a woman's world. Infidelity is now a two-way street accepted by both parties, as Will and Jada Smith have so famously proven. Women go on all-girl trips or have their girls' night out. Father Abraham, wake up, oh. Moses, where are you? Men are in trouble. Apostle Paul, please rise up and update your epistles. Many men will say that the women Apostle Paul said we should love the way Christ loved the church no longer exist. Is this true? In the last third of the book of Proverbs, the theme of the quarrelsome wife is brought up 5 times. In Proverbs 19:13, 21:9, 21:19, 25:24, and 27:15. This is another major issue that is driving men to an early grave. I suspect that back in the days when the writer of Proverbs said it's better to live on a corner of a roof than share a house with a quarrelsome wife, he never envisaged the advent of social media. Proverbs 21:19 says, better to live in a desert than with a quarrelsome and nagging wife. Now, go to the desert, go to the mountaintop, enter inside water. She'll use WhatsApp to message you. She'll use Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and any other social media avenue to reach you. If you are unreachable, she will leave the message on her DP for you. If you don't see it, someone else will see it and draw your attention to it. In the high-pressure world we live in today, a nagging wife is like a suicide bomber. Women now recruit their kids to join in the nagging. Speaking of kids, do you know that the prayer request for fruit of the womb has reduced tremendously? Women can no longer be judged or shamed by their ability or inability to have kids. Who picking help, some will say. They can adopt or buy one if it's that serious. I guess the question before men today is, what leverage do you have over a woman in the year 2023? Absolutely nothing, many will say. Absolutely nothing. You don't have financial leverage. You don't have societal leverage. You have zero leverage. For those who will say they have spiritual leverage, please think again. They are closer to the pastors than you are. They are the ones commissioning all sorts of dangerous prayers. Our women have changed on us. They have bolted from the stable. They no longer need us and will only deal on their own terms. This is something men were not born or raised to deal with. Just this week, I was laughing as I watched a video wherein a man was singing to his wife, begging her to bring his food. My 9-year-old daughter was not amused. She couldn't understand why he couldn't go to the kitchen to make his own food. I reminded her that her mom makes my meals and brings it to me, to which she replied, "Why though? Why can't you make your own meals, Dad?" The only thing I could think of to say was, "Why can't you pay your own school fees?" But before I finished, she said, "Mommy can pay it." While Allah comes to town. I know for a fact that her mommy didn't teach her this doctrine, but at age 9, you can see what's already happening. Men, the truth is that we have ourselves to blame. Do you know that in the year 2023, 70 to 80% of divorces are initiated by women? Those days of pack your load and go are over. They will leave. They will ask you to leave because sometimes it's their house. When they are educated, it jumps to 90%. 90%. We'll continue this conversation next week. Till then, stay in your marriage. God bless you all.